Welcome to The Challenge Historian, where we dive deep into all things MTV's The Challenge, past, present, or future. If it's happening in the Challenge universe, then we are here to document it. I am your host and dedicated Challenge historian, Jacob Hollabaugh. Thank you so very, very much for being here with us today. It's Tuesday. We are 24 hours away from a brand new episode of Season 37, Spies, Lies, and Allies, which means it's time for our super fast review preview to get us caught up and ready to go for tomorrow night. It's been a long 6 days since we saw episode 2, which was an episode with a lot happening in it. And since then, we've had Aftermath, we've had Instagram Lives, we've had bonus content posted, we've had cast members all over the podcast circuit. So a lot to keep up with, and that's why you've got me. I'll do it for you. You don't have to do it yourself. So here we go. Let's review what happened last week. Let's talk about what's happened since then, and then let's preview the episode to come, shall we? All right, first thing on the agenda is to review every single thing that happened last week, which was a lot. We usually try to do this in 90 seconds. We will see if that's even possible this time around, but we're going to give it our best effort. So we'll set the clock. 90 seconds it is. See if we can do this. Every single thing that happened on episode 2 of Spies, Lies, and Allies. Let's go. First, Ed is here. He's replacing Nam. He's partnered with Emmy, and he's making friends very quick in the house because everyone loves his energy and loves Ed. We do too. Then, Nelson and Ashley, their romance blossoms. Ashley tells Nelson that she is starting to get feelings for him, which his response is to cuddle up with Berna before going to bed with Ashley and then flirting more with Berna, and everything blows up in everyone's face. Ashley among the blow up, this time very much deserved. What's not deserved is her calling Berna Bertha over and over, but whatever, for another day. In comes Devin to mark the end of an era. Millionaire Mitchell shall be no more. A new name has been dubbed Meltdown Mitchell. Now, prior to the daily challenge, we learned Lauren exited the game. We never saw her, we never knew her. So in her place comes in reigning champ Amber B, who we can now just call Amber because 1, she's the only Amber, 2, she's a champion, and 3, she is back, bitches. Bitch is her word, not mine. Anyways, daily challenge happens. One partner in a helicopter throwing bags of fake money down to another who's in a Range Rover. Whoever transfers the most wins, that being Fessy and Esther. They get the win, they get the power. Back at the house, Josh and Devin play chess. Yes, Josh and Devin. Those two people playing that game, chess, really happened. It was hilarious. They decide to target Kells. Before that target takes place, Fessy tries to offer Kells a deal. He says, no thanks, bro. And then that leads to a deliberation where Josh just makes up a whole bunch of lies about Kells because he's scared to say that he's scared of Kells. Kells roasts him for it, calls him out, everyone laughs, everyone knows that Josh is lying, but everyone is scared of Kells, so all the vets vote him in anyways. Tracy along with him. Into elimination they go, where they face Ed and Emmy, who are picked by Fessy and Esther. Ed and Emmy get the win. They send Kells and Tracy home. Ed picks Tori as his new partner. Emmy picks Devin. That puts Corey and Michelle as partners too, and that catches us up to where we are going into episode 3. Not quite 90 seconds, about 14 seconds over, but we did it really, really close. And again, a lot happened, so bear with me. Not quite 90 seconds. We'll get it next week, but that's everything that happened. Get your brains back on the same wavelengths, remembering everything you saw last week. Let's now move into then what has happened since that. What has happened since the episode in all the challenge universe. Anything you need to know that's related to this next episode or this season. Let's get you caught up on that. All right, the between time. So let's start with Aftermath, which again, disclaimer. If you're not watching the challenge Aftermath, if I assume you're listening to this podcast, you're watching the challenge, the main show, you love the challenge. If you're listening to this pod, you should watch Aftermath. It is a lot of fun. It has become a long ways since some of the older, post-game type of shows weren't always hitting the spot. This one is. Devin Simone, the host, is wonderful. She does an amazing job, and it's very fun, and we learn a lot. But in case you're not watching, the few worthy notes that came out of this week's episode is 1, Josh does immediately own up to the fact that he was lying during this episode, which is good. He didn't try to cover that because it was very obvious in the moment watching last week's episode, and if he would have tried to say, no, a bunch of this stuff happened, just no. He took it like a champ. He said, I was lying. Everyone deserved to laugh at me. Kells talked to one person maybe, and I took that and ran with it. So very big of him, even though we did learn that, yes, he was very, very much lying, which sounds like everyone in the room knew. Everyone knew in the moment, in the house, in the episode we saw, so not sure how that'll affect his gameplay in the episodes to come. Then we also saw a little bit of friction between Josh and Big T, which was kind of interesting. It was all related to, he kept saying that her and Kells had this great friendship, and that's why no one told Big T that they were going after Kells, but Big T said, one, I don't, and stop saying that. And she had to tell him like 4 different times, like, I don't have a relationship, or didn't at the time have a good one with Kells. And there's a little friction of maybe Big T's on the outs of the vet alliance. So maybe we'll see her kind of being one of the first vets to say, rookies, there's a lot of you, maybe we could do something here. So that was a note. Another one was Esther was on this episode of Aftermath, and she just carried herself really, really well. And there was a couple times where they were talking like deep game and kind of minutia of the game, where she was, big part of the conversation. She mentioned at one point how she knew early on right in the house she needed to start rallying votes. So it was just another, for a rookie who we didn't know a ton about coming in, just a good look for her in general, keeping my eye on her, clearly playing very strategic. She got that daily challenge win, and I just feel like she might be one of the rookies that were kind of being set up to see a deep run from. So keeping my eye on Esther. And then finally, they revealed the votes this season on Aftermath. The 2 notable votes that were revealed. They revealed everyone. Most people voted for Kells and Tracy, with 5 or 6 teams kind of having 1 or 2 people go a different way. The notable ones, though, were that CT, Tommy, and Jeremiah all voted for Anissa and Logan, which, Tommy and Jeremiah, U.S. but rookies, so I get they're not throwing their vote right behind Kells. They want to support the rookie. But CT with them, throwing that vote at Anissa and Logan, makes me wonder, one, CT, he knows these are secret. He's just kind of doing his own thing, classic CT. But also with him and Tommy specifically, and Tommy and Jeremiah in total, the 3 of them being the U.S., is CT, maybe kind of gathering a couple rookies on his side, knowing that eventually the vets are going to be scared of him. Everyone's going to be scared of him. They should all be scared of him. So something to watch of CT, Tommy, Jeremiah. Was there any planning that went into that, or they just all happened to vote for Anissa and Logan? The other notable vote was Emmanuel voted for himself, which I wonder if we'll find out why, or if that was a burn vote on himself, or, those iPads are tricky. Who knows? But Emmanuel voted for himself. Elsewhere in the challenge world, outside of Aftermath, outside the episode, a few notes to pick up on. I didn't do the best job this week catching all of the Instagram lives. I try to watch as many as I can. Right after the episode, almost all the cast members at this point, a lot of them are going live, and I can only watch, I can watch a couple of those at once. I got a couple different accounts. I can bring up a couple different phones or computers, but hard to listen to them all at once. They're all live, and those that aren't posted on IGTV, you can't watch after the fact. So try to watch as many of those as I can, try to pick up on any notes from that. But if you've got a favorite player, if you're ride or die team Nelson and Corey, you're ride or die with the Survivor folks or the Big Brother folks, or you're just CT all the way, always have been, always will be, any of those. If you've got a favorite player in this game, you should probably be watching their Instagram lives afterwards. They're very entertaining. They're very fun. These people, there's a reason you love them on TV. It's the same thing. They're on camera. It's live. It's very fun. And you might learn a lot. And if you learn something and you think that I might have missed it, feel free, DM me the deets. Keep me up to date. Help me out. There's a lot of Instagram to cover out there, and I'm only one man. But with that, a few things were learned throughout. One more on the Instagram Live note is that during the episode, last week's episode, Michaela started going, who left off after the first episode, Survivor Michaela, who I thought was going to be amazing on this. She was amazing in the one episode that she was there. And she's also amazing on Instagram Live. She's going live during the commercial breaks. Last week, I think she had Esther and Corey, and I apologize to whoever else was with her. Big T might have been in there at times, but she had 3 or 4 people. Fessy might have joined in at one time. But going live during the commercial breaks, just start to finish commercial breaks. So if you're bored during the commercials, there's a lot of them on MTV. Check out her IG Live. I think she's going to do it again this week. All right, so some things we learned. Listen to a bunch of different podcasts where different cast members and things were out there, one of which was the Official Challenge Pod with Tori and Anissa, a wonderful podcast. And this week they had Ed on and talked with Ed about a little bit about his journey to the challenge and about this episode in particular. And a couple things that were worth noting going forward in the game potentially is, one, Ed picked Tori simply because she was the one who was picked previously, and if you remember, his entrance at the end of episode 1 was right at the very end before they reshaped all the partnerships. So his literal first moments in the show, we're watching Tori get picked, and it comes out on this pod that he then picked her just because he assumed she had to be good. She was the pick before. So thought that was interesting and kind of sets up their partnership a little bit. And then also found out, which is important for me and hopefully for you listening as well, is the bar that they went to last episode, which I mistakenly thought was still somewhere on property or very close to property, is a legitimate off-site bar. It's just one that they've kind of bought out for the season. No one else will be there. They've decked out in challenge swag, but it's off-site. They've got to ride buses to it. So we're getting closer to that authentic challenge, go out to a bar feel. There are bus rides happening. I don't know if they're going to ever show any of those bus rides. The bus rides are just a classic place for the challenge, for shit to go down. So maybe we'll get to see some of those, but it was great to hear that. That was it kind of in the podcast realm. Out on the social media, the biggest stir of the week on the social channels were Ashley and Berna continued to go at it on Twitter. They went back and forth. Ashley, saying these bitches don't appreciate the screen time I give them. Berna not really even using Ashley's name, only calling her A, which is fair because Ashley won't call her Berna, keeps saying Bertha, which is disrespectful regardless of the situation that led to them not really liking each other, which is probably neither fault of the ladies and is more on my man Nelson, but I'm sure we'll get more of that in the episodes to come. But those two, don't expect them to turn things around in the house any too soon because it seems like post the show being filmed, they are still a little bit at each other's throats. And with that, that's really everything of note, that at least everything that affects this season going forward or the storylines we might be seeing or expecting. So that's what happened in the between time. Let's now move into a brief preview and some predictions of tomorrow night's episode. Finally, to wrap it up, let's preview and predict some things for tomorrow night's episode. The main preview is this. Have the rookies completely blown this? Now, the short answer to this is probably yes. The answer is yes. The rookies have completely and utterly blown it, and that is the main thing we're looking for and watching going into this next episode, is the next few episodes. But if you want to know how and why we've come to that conclusion, it's a bit of a too long of an answer to add into this micropod. So head on over to our Instagram at Challenge Historian, where we have a bonus video up explaining this very topic. Have the rookies completely blown this, and explaining why we think the answer is yes. But more thoughts on that Challenge Historian, that bonus content. On to the predictions for tomorrow night's episode. Now, last week, in our specific predictions on this pod last week for that next episode, we went 2.5 out of 3 on those predictions. An absolutely epic start. Epic gets thrown around way too much of a word in the challenge house, but this one I think actually was 2.5 out of 3 on the first one. That's a hot start. Let's see if we can keep the momentum going. As always, disclaimer on the predictions. They are my own predictions, and I have no inside knowledge, and I avoid all the spoilers, so please know this is just one challenge diehard making guesses and not someone secretly trying to spoil something for you. I know it may seem like that after 1 week in where, I basically went 3 for 3, but no spoilers here. I'm just that good at this sometimes. So, predictions for this week. Prediction number 1. We will make 3 of them again. We'll see if we can do 3 every single week. Prediction number 1. Going a little bit further out, making a little more bold prediction this time around. Ed and Tori are going to win the daily challenge. We saw on the next week on, they have to swim into some cave and do something. They have to swim to a cave. A bunch of people ended up with bloody faces. It looks pretty gnarly, but my prediction is that Ed and Tori are going to be a team to be reckoned with right away, and they're going to win the daily challenge. That's prediction 1. Prediction number 2, a vet will be in the elimination for the first time this season. Only one, though. 1 vet, 3 rookies. That's the elimination we're going to get in some way, is my prediction number 2. In prediction number 3, last week, my third prediction was that someone was going to cry, and I felt like that was a little too easy. I can have one that's maybe a gimme, one that I feel like really, really, really confident in, but maybe not quite that easy. I think we could say someone's going to cry every week right now with this cast, and it'd probably happen. But this week's third prediction is also one I feel very confident in because it seems to just be a regular occurrence at this point. But I'm going with Fessy will have beef with someone. It's either Amber or maybe Amanda and him finally blow up in each other's faces, or Josh and him, or CT, or a rookie, or anyone in the house. Fessy's going to have beef with someone. So my 3 predictions: Ed and Tori win the daily challenge. A vet will see elimination for the first time, but only one vet, and Fessy will have beef with someone. those are the predictions, and that's all for the review preview. Make sure to tune in tomorrow night. Brand new episode of Spies, Lies, and Allies at 8 Eastern, 7 Central on MTV. And then make sure to listen first thing Thursday morning or whenever you've got time. But it'll be there first thing for you Thursday morning, the recap podcast on the Challenge Historian feed, where we will dive deep into everything that happened. Break it down, turn it over, award some people, some things, all the good stuff. So make sure you are following or subscribed wherever you listen to this podcast. Follow or subscribe. That way you are sure to get those episodes dropped in your feed immediately Thursday morning after the episode. Make sure you're also following our Instagram at Challenge Historian, where we're putting up some of that bonus content we talked about related to this season. We're also going to start dropping some content in this coming week about some classic challenge seasons, specifically one of my personal favorite seasons ever, Free Agents. I've been rewatching that recently and got some stuff coming about that free agent season. That's all on the Instagram at Challenge Historian. Follow us there. Follow this podcast. Tune in tomorrow night for what we can only hope is a certified banger of an episode. But until then, until next time, friends, peace out.